Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Sunday video where I look at the hottest Golden Age comics of the week. And it's a pretty cool list. It's the first list of the year, and this is kind of an interesting market because it's the January market. And usually comics are a little bit soft during the January market because, people have spent all their money over Christmas, and, they not really buying comics as much during the January market. So this is going to be an interesting list because of that. So keep that in mind. And let's get into the list. The first one is Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 46. This was pretty cool comic because it's a Dell from 1946. It's a Walt Kelly cover. It's a War Bond cover with Donald Duck being Uncle Sam. It's a very cool cover. And it's one that collectors will actually chase after because there's a few of these kind of war-related Disney comics, with war bonds and that collectors will kind of go after. This was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $449.99. Now, this was not a new record. The previous record for this book was $516, set back in September of 2021. But this was, kind of a weak sale, actually. There was a 3.0 that sold in August of 2023 for $485. So this is actually down from that 3.0 sale. So bit of a weak one, but as I said, it's the January market. So there are 50 of these in all grades. 48 of them are universal. Number 9 on the list is Terrific Comics number 6. This is from Continental, 1944. It's an L.B. Cole cover. It's kind of a classic cover. It's also a really rare book. It's a Gerber 7. It was the last issue of the Terrific series, and it's just a cool cover. Now, this is was a 5.5 that sold, and it sold for $650. Now, this was a bit of a steal. Actually, this would be the steal of the week because this book had kind of a major sale back in 2022 for $1,080, so about $400 more. Though it had a more recent, and that was the most recent sale. It had sold, maybe that was an outlier. It had sold in 2019 for $585. So maybe that was an outlier sale, but this book has really come down from that 2022 sale. So just a kind of a weak sale. Again, January market, pick up some pretty good books for pretty great prices. There are 24 of these on the census, and 24 of them are universal blue labels. Number 8 on the list is Whiz Comics number 25. This is from Fawcett, 1941. It is the origin and first appearance of Captain Marvel Jr., who appeared in the movies. He's the boy with the crutches. if you've watched the Shazam movies, that's who Captain Marvel Jr. is. It also has the retelling of the origin of Shazam in like a text version as well in the story. And it's a CC Beck cover. So lots going for this book. This was a 0.5 restored copy that sold, and it sold for $850. Now, the reason it's a 0.5 is it's missing page 14. And it had color touch, tear seals, and pieces added, and all done in a C1, which is amateur restoration. Now, this is the only sale for this book in this grade, but this was actually a fairly strong sale because a 3.0 had, or sorry, a 2.5 had sold, a blue label 2.5 had sold for $866 in March of 2019. So this is in par with that blue label that sold several years ago. Even a 3.0 had just recently sold in October of 2023 for $1,560. So for 0.5, this is a very strong sale, especially 0.5 restored. Very strong sale. There are 92 of these on the census, and 77 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 7 on the list is a really cool book. This is House of Mystery number 1. This is from DC Comics 1951. It is actually the very first DC horror comic. And I always like the cover. It's a Win Mortimer cover and a Charles Paris cover. And it's just, I somehow I like it. It's this girl dancing, running with wolves, and she's like a werewolf kind of thing. Now this is a interesting one because it was a 4.0 that sold for $900. The last recorded sale in this grade was set back in April of 2017, so many years ago, and it was sold for $599.51. There was actually a 3.5 that recently sold, and it sold for $575 in March of 2023. So that was the most recent comparable sale. So this is a very strong sale. It's actually almost double what that 3.5 had sold for. So very strong sale for this book. And it's a classic book because it's House of Mystery, first DC horror. There are 134 of these on the census, and 119 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 6 on the list is another classic book because it's Eerie number 12. And this is from Avon 1953. It is the first Dracula in comics. And it's what they did is they did an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula and put it in the comic. And it's a great vampire Dracula cover. So just a really cool comic. Now this one was interesting. I'm a little bit skeptical about this sale because this was a 6.5 that sold, and it sold for $1,699. And this is kind of a weird sale because the last recorded sale for this grade was set back in January of 2020 for $700. So this is like really high compared to that 2020 sale. There was even a 8.0 sale that was back in 2020 as well for $1,320. So this is above the 8.0 sale. Now this book is recorded as being sold, but it's been relisted. So I'm not sure what the deal is with this book. But it seemed like it was a very high sale, and maybe they just didn't complete the purchase. I don't know what happened, but it was relisted. There are 56 of these on the census, and 55 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 5 on the list is Sensation Comics number 38. This is from DC 1945. It is a H.G. Peter cover, and it's a really great Wonder Woman as Santa cover. It's also a cool book because it's the very first time that they use the emblem and All-American publication, and it has an ad for All-American Comics number 1. So lots going for this book, and I just really love the cover, this Wonder Woman being like a Santa. Just really cool cover. And it was a 6.0 that sold, and it sold for $2,299.99. The last recorded sale for this book was in 2005. So almost 20 years ago. And it sold for $156 back then. So if we could just go get that time machine, go back, we could pick it up for a really great price. So $156, and now it's like over $2,000. So very interesting. There was actually a 5.0 that sold for $1,800 in September of 2022. So this is kind of in par with what that 5.0 had sold for. So very strong sale. This book is fairly hard to find. There's 41 of these on the census, and 40 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 4 on the list is Crime Suspense Stories 22. This is EC Comics 1954. It is a major key because of the fact that it was the book that really led to the end of the Golden Age. And if you watch my video from previous 2 weeks ago, I actually mentioned this book on the list, and it was a steal of the week back then, where this book really led to the end of the Golden Age because it was brought up in the Senate hearings, and when they questioned Bill Gaines about this book, he kind of downplayed the horror of it, and that made headlines, and then they really had to come up with the Comic Code Authority, or comics would be no more. This has a very horrific cover. It's at the end of that pre-code horror era where they really were trying to go one up themselves in terms of how horrific could they make the covers. And there's like the head being held and the axe, it's a pretty horrific cover. So just a very famous classic decapitation cover. Now this was a 1.5 that sold, and it sold for $2,722. Now this is a Johnny Craig cover, and it is one that had previously pretty major sales for it. Back in June of 2023, it sold for $3,299. And, so it's down a little bit from that prior record. But if you compare it to what it sold back in 2012, where it only sold for $180 back then. So this book is way up over time, but it's a little bit down from its prior record. There are 426 of these on the census, and 385 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 3 on the list is World's Best Comics number 1. This is from DC Comics 1941. It's a Fred Ray cover. This title later becomes World's Finest Comics, and it features a classic Batman, Robin, and Superman cover. It's just a classic book. This was a 3.0 that sold, and it sold for $3,700. The prior record for this book was set back in September of 2021 for $3,500. So it's up from the prior record. So this is a new record for this book. There's 157 of them on the census, and 115 of them are Universal Blue Labels. The next one, number 2 on the list, is Phantom Lady number 15. This is from Fox Publications, 1947. It is a really cool book because it's Matt Baker cover, but the inside of this book is insane. We got Phantom Lady, who is being injected with experimental drugs, and there's actually this man being burned alive panel. So lots of crazy stuff inside. Very cool book with a cool cover. This was a 7.5 that sold, and it sold for $5,399. So pretty big sale. This is not a record for this book. The previous record for this book was set back in February of 2023 for $5,520. But that was the record. There was actually a later sale that was in September of 2023 for $4,320. So it's up compared to the prior sale, but it's down compared to its all-time high. So still a strong sale though. There are 84 of these in Universal. 84 of these on the census, and 78 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Last book on the list, and this one was a kind of interesting one for me because I wasn't familiar with this book. This one was Journey into Mystery number 6. Now I'm familiar with Journey into Mystery, very famous title. This is Atlas Comics from 1953. So when Marvel kind of did its different divisions, Atlas was the one that was really devoted towards horror comics. And this is a really great Bill Everett horror cover with the classic death till death do us part, where the bride is marrying a corpse. So very cool cover, and it features a Stan Lee story. So very cool book. This was a 4.5 that sold, and it sold for $6,750. Um, Now, the previous record slash sale for this book was set back in September of 2014, so quite a ways ago, 10 years ago, and it was $649 back then. So it's up 10 times from what it sold back 10 years ago. However, we got some comparables that we can use. There was a 5.0 that sold, and it sold for $6,900 in October of 2022. And there was a 4.0 that sold for $1,800 in April of 2022. So it's kind of with where you would expect this one to sell for. A little bit lower than the 5.0, but close to that 5.0 price, and above the 4.0. So kind of where you would expect it. There are 49 of these in Universal Blue Labels and 50 in total on the census. So just a really cool book. I like these marriage covers, bride covers, where you get some kind of weird horror element as well. So what did you think of this list? What do you think about the January market? Is it the time to get some really great deals? Because books are a little bit soft because people don't have any money left from Christmas. Is it a good time to buy? I'd love to hear your comments. Please remember to like, comment, and share the video with anyone that might be interested in Golden Age comics. So again, thanks for watching. Bye for now.